Before we begin, a quick heads up. This episode may contain some strong language, mature themes, and conversations about many difficult topics. We like to keep it real around here, so listener discretion is advised. But thank you for listening. Now, on to our show. Welcome to the Sip and Saga Society, where we cover histories, mysteries, and just any story worth telling. Every week, we cover a year in time while slowly traumatizing each other along the way. But that's for the rest of the month. Right now, it's our little sip, so we're trying to have fun-ish.
So sorry.
Um,
So sorry.
this week is our Little Sips video episode of the month for the month of August. And my name is Karina, and I'm one of your hosts. Today, we're covering the theme of snapped.
hmm
Snapped. Randy,
Yes.
tell the people hi, and also what was your snap definition? And
Oh,
also,
yes. Yes.
what are you drinking?
Oh, wow. There's a
I'm
lot of
getting
things. Okay. Hi,
this
everyone.
isn't this
Hi.
is an interview. Rapid
And
fire.
I am having to hold so many questions in my head all at once, but I will endeavor to remember. Hello, everyone. Again, let's see. What is my definition of snapped? Well, our book for the month is Wuthering
Oh,
Heights.
thank God. I forgot.
Our book is Wuthering Heights. And when I think about that book, all I think about is toxicity. Like that book is just I am interested in reading it. I don't know how I'm gonna
I've
feel
never read it.
while reading it. Oh, I have before.
I don't know anything
It's an
about it.
experience. So it was really all about toxicity. This snapped and really my view on it was, what's more toxic than the patriarchy, right? Which is why I have more of a depressing storyline tonight. I totally went against my own rules of keeping it lighthearted on the little sips, and I depressed myself in my research. So it's fine. We're all gonna be clear-eyed tonight.
We will make it.
I have my
Oh,
Dr. Pepper,
yes.
the biggest one possible because I split it between 2 days. I didn't want to pick one up today. I have an ice cold water that is already mostly gone, so I'm gonna have to get some more at some point. And I actually have half a glass of milk because it is currently cookie time. So
And what time exactly is that, Randy? Do you have a
it is
specific time?
it is the time after dinner when I decide I want something sweet. It's right now, so it's cookie time.
Everyone has that time. It's like 7 to 8 o'clock ish. Anyway, oh, and yes, that is the book club book of the month, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I hope I got her name right. She
hmm
will ghost me if it's an issue.
Literally, because she's
Yeah, I
dead.
was gonna say, like, hey, be careful what sort of ghosts you invite into your life, you know?
None of them are allowed in this house, so. Speaking of which, Greg, you're not a ghost, but you're the one that talked next.
I'm not actually, I'm wearing a ghost shirt, which is funny, the
Oh,
band.
how funny. Oh,
So
wow,
you know,
ghost.
ironically,
Mm-hmm.
so I am talking about a woman who in the early 1900s would have been like in a celebrity like infamous that pretty much everybody in the United States would have known about, but nobody like if I said her name today, it would just be blank stares for most people. But she's really interesting and she fits the definition for the episode. Um, so I have two drinks today. I have from Equilibrium Brewing, which is in New York, actually the Dreamwave Fluctuation double IPA, which the can is not it's like weird, like dreamy, like
It looks like an
matrixy.
aura picture a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's like
What I immediately
matrixy
thought of
Oh,
Mothman.
looking.
Randy.
What? Mothman?
That's where he's
Mothman.
from.
Have you ever seen Mothman Prophecies?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, so that's
That's
in
what that
Wheeling, West
reminds me of.
Virginia, which is like an hour and a half away from where I went to grad school. So I didn't do the proper time I should have spent in Wheeling because there's a Mothman statue and I don't have a picture with it.
Wow.
That
Greg.
just goes
That's like
back
where the
to the
bridge
Ouija
collapsed and
board.
everything was in Wheeling, West Virginia.
Greg is way too willing to go and experiment with these things. Why would you need a picture with it? I just feel like capturing it on
Well,
film,
it's a
isn't that
statue,
like
you know. But I will say, you know what? That movie still like it's kind of creepy. Like when he picks up the phone in the hotel room and the being talks to him, like for a PG-13 horror movie, still kind of gives me chills, which I feel like
Okay.
is saying something.
I
I don't think I've
I
ever
I think
watched it. Now I think I
Oh, you
might want to
haven't?
watch
I
it.
think we need to
It's
like
okay.
share movies from the 90s because I will say there's another movie that gets me every time. Fallen with Denzel
Oh,
Washington.
yeah, that's a good
Every
one.
time I watch
Yeah.
that movie, I'm like, this
Kind of
one
like The Cell. Like The
really,
Cell's pretty fucked up too.
yes,
Okay,
very good
everybody.
example.
Fine. Everyone drop your favorite 90s movie in the Snapchat group. I'm making it a
It
post.
is
Randy,
specifically creepy. I'm only taking
creepy
creepy.
90s movies.
Creepy 90s movies.
And okay.
Yeah, there you go.
A haunting. Okay.
My
I'm just saying, guys, this
yeah,
list
yeah,
could
yeah.
be really good.
My other drink is one of these like you mix it yourself cocktail things, but they had it at the counter when I went to buy my beer, and I was like, I'll try this. It's a old fashioned
Like
cocktail.
someone's forcing you. I'll do
Well,
it.
no, I mean, so like I bought the
Put the gun
little
down.
cans. This one, like, look how much you get in that. Like, this is my
Oh, that's pretty
flower
good.
glass. Like, it's they call it a double pour, but I'm like,
I love how you said it. One, that glass is beautiful,
I
Greg.
do.
yeah,
I
no,
But
love
it
you
it.
is. Yeah.
described it like we know the sizing. Like, oh right, the flower glass. We've seen this in person.
Yeah, no, I mean it's like hand sized, right?
Greg, your
I'm
hands
Like
are
giving
my
it's
small
hands.
giving 12 ounces.
small
12
cup. I don't
ounces.
Yeah, it is gonna give in like eight
how
to
much do
10
we
out
have in
10
here?
to 10
Now I'm
ounces.
trying to figure out this amount, but they don't tell you. I don't think
That's
they have to put anything on
illegal.
alcohol. They're just like it'll get you drunk.
No,
That's all
they
They
anyone's
just say
worried
definitely
don't
about.
drink it if you're
do.
pregnant.
Oh, hold on.
They definitely do, guys.
So it's 5 ounces apparently, because one
But a double
serving.
pour is at 10. Okay, I was
Well, no, no,
close.
no, no. So the single serving is 2.5. So I went
Oh,
ahead and
Well, that
doubled
is a
it.
much smaller cup than I was expecting.
that's a
I
shorty.
don't, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's 5 ounces though.
Well, in our confusion, Christina,
I don't know.
what are you bringing us, Snap? And also, what are you sipping?
So I guess I'll do my drink first. Y'all know I don't drink often, but I
Hmm.
do have a little drinky drink.
Okay, Christina.
Nothing wild. Nothing too wild. But it's the Seagram's Escapes and it's the blueberry acai lemonade.
Oh, that looks
That sounds
cute.
good.
And it's this beautiful light purple. And then I have my Dr. Pepper
Oh,
in
yes,
my
Amen.
cup.
obviously, the classic.
Amen. You already know.
Yeah.
Amen.
And then I actually went onto the interwebs to find my story. It is a Reddit thread, and I will, like, what is it? Put the person's name who posted the story, obviously, so they get
Wait, I
the
kind of love that
recognition.
it's a Reddit thread. That's
Yeah,
I love
we
a good
haven't
Reddit
done one of
story.
Mhm.
We've
those
never
yet, I
done
don't
Reddit.
think.
and it's a corporate
Honestly,
because I'm a
wait,
corporate girly, so it's a corporate
real
story,
talk,
kind of.
Christina. Like, I'm just, this is an aside. If you wanted to just get Reddit stories for like the foreseeable snaps, I would also be okay with that too, because I think that would be funny.
Yeah,
Because if you just pick whatever the fuck you want from Reddit to fit the
yeah,
theme, I don't care. I want to know what's out there. Investigate Reddit for us. You're the
I
Reddit
can do that.
investigator.
Investigate.
I can do
Because
that.
I think I'm
I
like,
sure
you know what?
can.
Yeah, you're right. Because everyone loves fucking We're all on Reddit. We
Oh
don't know
yeah.
if anything is
We are.
facts. We're on
We
Reddit
are.
though. So then we have a Reddit episode for a Reddit segment. I love it. I think
Oh
that's
God.
I do.
Well, hold on, hold on. That could go awry
it could
very
be
quickly.
crazy.
Depending on, like I don't know if y'all followed the like museum of Reddit. Like as a historian, I like the things that are like the posts that are like the most noteworthy post of Reddit history. You like the lore that developed back in like 2010 and shit when Reddit was first getting off the ground. It's fantastic. I
I
was there for so many of those stories.
I didn't have Reddit until last year, like on my phone officially.
I don't
Oh,
have
With
Reddit, so
I was a
yeah,
very early adopter. I got on it in like
Greg,
2009 or 2010.
I love you
well,
lots, but you give the vibe of I've been on Reddit.
Yeah.
okay, I don't I wouldn't say that necessarily, Greg. I don't know. When
I don't
I
know.
I
think
do
of
It sounds
so.
Reddit,
kind of like
I
you're
when
picking
I
on me, but I'll
right,
just let it
like
slide for a second.
when I think of Reddit, I think this is probably why I did never have an account is because I immediately think incel. Like
Yeah.
when I think Reddit, that's the first place my mind goes. And
I
then
don't
I
know,
think,
because,
am I that asshole? Which is my other favorite thing.
well,
Oh yeah.
one, I am because I am the bully of the group. Oh God.
Your
Who's gonna
mother
see
would
Accountability.
this?
agree.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but also when I have needed help or like needed to research something or like wanted a review, I feel like Reddit sometimes is a really credible source and a really helpful place to get information.
That's what I think of when I think of Reddit is like
Mhm.
I'll look up like certain things like, you know, how to do something because, something like if I'm putting something together or if I have an issue like with something, that's like what I use Reddit for, which I
Yeah.
feel like that makes me feel old. But
I just
No,
there's
I
someone
feel
out
like
there that has gone through
Oh
something and
yeah.
they figured
yeah.
it out and
no,
it's
I
the
feel like
best place.
it's some people use YouTube, some people use
Yeah.
a dictionary, like some people use different resources to find this a same answer to things.
Yeah.
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 I think
Like
it's like the same way you would Google something.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's like so it's funny enough, it's like completely the opposite for me, in some ways where like I really got into it because like I in the pre-Reddit days was like on a lot of like musician message boards and was like a moderator for some and stuff like that. So like I already did some of that stuff online, but then for me the ex-Christian subreddit, like as I was like working my way out of Christianity, is like a really supportive community for people who are like trying to like figure stuff out, and like sort through that. And that was like a big part of it for me.
I
It
love
was
that.
like the very niche subreddits that have a very
Hmm.
good like community mindset are like the thing that kept me on Reddit.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the whole thing really is very community because like even if it doesn't really matter what you're looking for, people are just like trying to give each other advice or they're
Well,
trying
yeah,
to
Yeah.
it's pooled brain power. Like one
right.
of the ones that I think is one of the most interesting ones is the mortician or the ones that like the people who work with the bodies, like they break down things on their like subreddit that's all about like what things cost and what you can say no to and how to tell your funeral home like what you're going to pay for and like what things actually cost so that you're not getting swindled. Like that's one of my
That's
favorite
wild.
aspects of it, Christina. I
That's
agree
really,
with
yeah.
both of you because it's kind of like a smashing of what both Greg and
Right, but
Christina
that's what
said.
it is. It's the collective. We all want to talk about like there's so much in the world. I don't know who I was telling recently where I'm like, I never realized how many niche random things people are into and just how vast the
Hmm.
internet is.
Mm.
It is a whole new
Yeah.
universe that we have created. It is insane. It is
I feel
wild in
like
there.
it's like more helpful, obviously more helpful than like social media too, because like kind of like what you were saying, Greg, like having that safe space of being like, hey, I'm putting this out there. And
Hmm.
like it's almost like people just know, like, oh, like this is like I'm responding because I'm trying to help versus like, on
Hmm.
social media, like you have those mix of people where it's like the people that
Yeah.
Yeah.
agree with you, the people that disagree, the people that are helpful, the people that are just jackasses. And so it's like I feel like with that, it's like I feel like the process is like if someone sees something that doesn't apply to them, they're like, oh, like this is not for me. I don't have an answer. And they just kind of move on
Hmm.
to the next thing. But then it's like, then you actually get those real answers of like people that like, hey, I felt that too. This is how I worked through it or
Hmm.
whatever. And it's kind of just like a nice little safe space of like, no one's bullying me here. Like we're all inclusive. We're all,
Yeah.
Mhm.
here for each
Even
other.
the
And that's
incel
great.
people, even those angry
Yeah.
little people,
Yeah.
like they have found a community and that's why they, you know why they are so powerful in the bullshit that they do, and I don't want to say powerful, but why they are so large in their number and so loud, or as loud as they are now, it's because they found a community of
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
people so they could soundboard and be like, yeah, this bullshit is true. And then they make shit up and then they like yell at each other. Like, I'm not
Oh
saying
yeah,
this is
yeah.
great,
Echo chamber.
but
Yeah,
it
I mean like
is a community that they have built, and that is the support they are
yeah.
using for this
Like
Yeah.
hatred.
our conservative is like the definition of an echo chamber, but you know, it's the kind of thing where I'm like, well, like if you really want free speech for everyone, you have to kind of entertain some of the shittier aspects of that.
Greg.
I was about to have such a hot take, but I'm gonna sit on it because that is something you would definitely have to cut out.
So,
Yeah.
Karina, what are you sipping on? And what are
Oh,
you talking
yes.
about?
Today, I'm going to talk about Leonardo Cianciulli of Italy.
Gentuli, Gentuli.
It sounds cute. It sounds adorable.
You gotta
If
you gotta do the hands like
Duduri, Duduri.
so people know you're Italian, that's racist. That's right. It has to be, but also like, do
This is
they do
like
this?
Ratatouille. This is like
Does Ratatouille do this?
That's
Do they
French
really?
though.
I'm
That's a real
pretty sure
question,
he
Joe.
does.
Do
I'm
the
pretty sure
Italians really
That's
do
also
Ratatouille. You
this?
know what?
French, not
That is
Italian.
my least
Wow.
favorite,
Wow.
one of my least favorite movies. So I
And
don't.
what
Who
concerns me
wants a
is
rat that close to their food? Keep going.
he
So sorry.
washes his hands,
I
Randy.
don't care.
No, Randy would have lit the whole place on fire. Randy, you would have lit the whole place on fire. No regrets.
I certainly would have at least turned it into the health department multiple times with photo evidence because I would have been thorough.
Randy would have
Randy
been
would
like,
not.
this is how the Black Plague started, you guys.
Exactly. You want it again?
Let's be yeah, let's think
Any
about this.
make choices. Anyway, so I'm drinking the Red's Wicked Apple. I stared at the gas station refrigerator door for a really long time and was like, what's the best thing to go for Snapped? And I just felt like Wicked felt like good.
Wicked.
It felt like
Yeah.
another name for like a true crime show, and that's all I watch, so I would know. It like Wicked Attractions. That's one of them.
I'm pretty sure it is the name of a true crime show.
Yeah, and it felt right, and I was like, oh, it's fruity and apple, and it's just anyway, yes, the soap lady. I picked her because it's really how a mother's love can sometimes turn a little too much. Anyway, if I've heard her story before and on one of my favorite podcasts. It's called Leyendas Legendarias, and it's all in Spanish, and it's horrendous because the story cracked me up when I heard these people tell it, and it's the worst story ever. And you're gonna be like, how could anyone make this funny? And I made it slightly humorous. But also, it brings up a lot of talking points about like how sometimes our environment can cause us to harm other people in the future. But ultimately, when you grow up, your choices are your own. Anyway, okay, yes, thank you for asking, Greg. And also, go on, tell us about your, what are you talking about? What you're talking about?
Okay.
Oh, wait,
We're
I'm gonna open
What a
this
weird
now.
intro. Just gonna call it out for everybody.
all right.
Anyway,
All right. So I'll start this by saying that, like, one of the things I think is really interesting, just as someone who, like, studies history for my job and, like, to teach and everything, is that there are people who, like, in their own day were, like, famous or infamous or something like that. And then, like, they fade from memory, right? Like, we forget about these people. And the woman I'm going to talk about, Carrie Nation, which is like the name that she would prefer and like how she would prefer to be remembered, um, was somebody who, like anybody who had newspapers in the early 1900s would know about and would maybe have some thoughts about because she became infamous for some of the things that she did. But like if I were to interview like I would bet like pretty much anybody on the street. And I'd be like, tell me what you know about Carrie Nation. Nobody they'd be like, who? Like that's what they say. Who is this person? Like,
Yeah, I'm
I don't know who
saying
they
who.
are. Yeah.
Greg, I literally researched a little bit and know about Carrie Nation, and when you right now said, I'm gonna do Carrie Nation, I was like, who?
Yeah.
Who are you talking about? Like, and I know,
Yeah.
like, so
So some backstory for me, like I first encountered her when I was doing my master's at Texas Women's University, in a class with Paul Travis, who is a really cool dude, really awesome professor, a class on the Gilded Age. So, we're talking like late 1800s, early 1900s. We're not quite into the progressive period where we're trying to reform, but this kind of like overlaps with that. So when I was in that class, we've read a bunch of books, but one of the books that we read was a biography on her. And so I didn't go to my office 'cause it's like an hour away from here, but I read Fran Grace's biography, Carrie Nation, Retelling a Life. Um, so I had to read a whole book on her and discuss her in grad school.
wait, you had to?
It was required reading. Like our assignments were on that, right? So
Nice.
so my professor picked her because he was like, this is a good book to talk about the things that he wanted to talk about, right? So I still have it. It's somewhere in my office at work, but it's one of those things that like you read a good book and it sticks with you, right? Like you don't remember everything, but you remember some of it. And so I'll start with like why she's famous and then tell y'all more about like kind of like the basic overview of her life. So she became one of the most famous or infamous women of in her day, um, because she really did not like alcohol. And she had reasons for that. She was a prohibitionist, and she eventually hit that point where she snapped and she trashed a saloon. I don't know exactly what it was that she used originally, but she did this many, many, many times after that, and eventually brought a hatchet into the mix. And so she's most famous for like taking a hatchet and smashing beer bottles, smashing like kegs of whiskey, that kind of thing.
So originally, she just was walking in here and being like, F this place. I'm destroying
Oh,
everything. No hatchet.
well, I mean, so on like a sort of like to quote the Blues Brothers, she was on a mission from God, right? Like God was like, I got you, and you need to go do this.
It's very motivational. Okay.
Yeah, right. I mean,
The
when a deity is
inspiration for
speaking
the
As
to
she
you,
said,
you
recipe.
listen, right? You're like,
I,
okay,
I'm here to tell you no more drinking, as most of us are drinking on this show.
yeah. So she's most famous for the hatchet. At other times, she used rocks the first time. So the first time she smashed up a saloon, she was like gathered a bunch of rocks and was like throwing them through the windows, like hitting shit on the bar behind it, like trashing it with rocks. But she also used a sledgehammer borrowed from a blacksmith in a town, a billiard ball. So she threw billiard balls. And then the hatchet is what she's most famous for, using to destroy a saloon in Wichita, Kansas, in on December 27th, 1900. So 2 days after Christmas.
She's so innovative.
I was gonna say she knew. She was like, "This is gonna create damage. I'm using this with
Also,
everything
Yeah.
that she used."
have you ever been hit by a billiard ball?
No.
When you're not expecting it, it is rough.
I Are you speaking from experience?
I'm
I
speaking
I
from a woman who hangs out with a toddler regularly and has been pelted by a billiard ball. It is
Oh,
heavy.
you're joking
I've
me.
never been hit by a billiard
I'm
Never
ball.
sorry that you lived
ever.
a luxurious life.
Seems like a really
Now
strange
I'm concerned.
situation that you're in.
Now
I'm
I'm
just gonna
like,
be really honest with you, Karina.
you
The
just
strange
has a
situation.
toddler never thrown something at you and then been
Yes,
like, oh
but
shit,
never a
that ball is
billiard
not.
ball. A billiard
They
ball?
don't know they're heavy. They're just like, it's just a ball.
Why do they have access to billiard balls? I guess is really where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
I
like
love
how
how
does a
you're like,
toddler get
I
a
forgot
billiard
about that
ball?
part. Okay.
I'm not
That's a
questioning.
good question.
His dad has one. His
Just
dad has
one
he
I
has one
assume there's
billiard
a
with
table
pool
a
outside.
table somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, Greg, go on about Carrie Nation and her
Yeah.
hatchet.
So, all right. So, to give you a little bit of backstory, she was born in 1846, so pre-Civil War, and grew up on a farm in Kentucky initially. Like around 1854, her family was like, things are tense. Like we're fighting over like which states are going to be slave states and free states. So they moved to Missouri in 1854. Um, so a few years, 6 years ish before the Civil War started. So Missouri's in a weird place, right? Like they're kind of like a slave state, but like also not, like they're kind of one of those like buffer states in the Civil War. And so she grew up there. Obviously, like when the war started, she moved to Texas for a bit, but then they moved back during the war. And so she got to see the brutality of the war firsthand. So as a young woman, she went with another woman to help like nurse injured soldiers during the Civil War back to life uh, around Independence, Missouri. So like, like this is just like really glossing over her childhood, but we don't know like a ton about it, right? Like we know the basic details. Like she grew up, like her family owned enslaved people, like they moved. I don't know the ins and outs of like what they thought about that or anything, but after the Civil War was over, by 1867, she's 21 and she marries a man named Charles Gloyd, who was a young, like up and coming doctor. He had boarded at her parents' house, like which was common at that time. So like, if you need some money, you take in boarders, you get people to live with you and they pay you. And so he proposed marriage and she decided to marry him against her parents' wishes because her parents like thought that he had a drinking problem. But she either didn't know, like overlooked it, but she married this guy named Charles Gloyd. So she became Carrie Gloyd. I think before, hold on, I had to double check that, like what her maiden name was. She was Carrie Moore. Then she became Carrie Gloyd when she
I
married.
would not. I mean, I know for the time, like she had to, but like
Yeah, Gloyd is it doesn't quite roll off the tongue,
it
right?
just
It
sounds
sounds
like
like
a
a
medical
disease.
condition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like
Yeah,
a
Like
tumor.
like I have to go get surgery. I have to remove my gloid.
like
Like
Gloyd.
that's what
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. He did have a drinking problem, right? I mean, like that maybe like may not be a surprise, but like he was a severe alcoholic, and so
I don't know why
they
the pause made it so much worse. You were just like out of the blue, like we all know it. He
yeah.
did have a drinking problem. It just took
So
me out.
so obviously she figured this out, but like she ends up in a position that many women at this time do. Like she marries, she's like into this guy, and you know, like he's trying to get his business off the ground as a doctor and everything. She figures out he has a drinking problem, but she's pregnant. So she ends up like by that point. So she ends up leaving him and goes home to
While she's
return
pregnant.
while she's pregnant, um, and gives birth to a daughter named Charlene, and the only child that she has, I'm pretty sure. And then, like 6 months later, he dies from alcohol-related issues, and so she's a widow at like 22, 23. I didn't look up the exact dates
That's a
for like,
very quick
timeline.
death.
Yeah, no, I mean like so he's older than her. I know
Mhm.
the guy that she marries later is 19 years older than her. I don't know
Oh
how much
wow.
older Charles was.
Mhm.
That wasn't like something I wrote down in my notes. But, I mean like he's a doctor, he's young, he seems like, like I don't know that we can necessarily fault her for those decisions, but then like it doesn't pan out, right? Like he ends up essentially drinking himself to death. She's a widow, and obviously this is going to play a huge role in some of her later decisions and her life, right? So from there, she moved to Holden, Missouri, and she had some money. So she inherited some money from like some land that her father had for her that he had set aside. She also sold her deceased husband's medical books and equipment, which got her a decent amount of money and became she went to the Normal Institute there and became a teacher. And so she taught school for 4 years in Holden. And in many ways, like at this point, her life looks like honestly kind of similar to a lot of women at this time with like how they're getting by, right? Like she marries this guy, he's an alcoholic, he dies. Like she, is doing these different things to try to like better herself. And she eventually meets a man named David Nation, who was a both a preacher and a lawyer. And ends up falling for him. They get married. And so she picks up Nation as her last name. So she goes from Carrie, what was it, Moore to Carrie Gloyd to Carrie Nation. And her middle name is Amelia. And so she adopts the name Carrie A. Nation, which becomes like she puts her own significance to that later. So she's literally carrying the nation, like saving them from alcohol and stuff like that. Uh, so she and David attempt to go back to Texas and farm, but neither of them know anything about farming, so that doesn't pan out. They lose some money, and they eventually move to Medicine Lodge, Kansas, which is where the story really kind of picks up. Carrie obviously had an issue with alcohol. Her first husband had a drinking problem, he dies from it. And so she starts a branch locally of the WCTU, which was the Women's Christian Temperance Union, a women's group that was designed to promote temperance in really all areas of life. So this is like moderation, right? Like this is kind of a Victorian middle class sort of idea that like we should all be moderate. Like too much passion, too much doing this, that, or the other is like too much. And that includes drinking, right? Like it's okay to drink a little bit, maybe, but like not get drunk.
They sound like a really good time. They
Oh,
sound they sound great. I'd love to
They
hang.
would be great friends with Ida's mom.
yeah.
I had to
Oh,
mention
oh,
her
oh,
because we
yeah.
do talk
Whoa,
This
about.
that
kind of
is such an
overlaps a
insult.
little bit in the
That is such
timeline.
an
But
insult.
but also like it is a throwback to when we talked about that. Like it is
Yeah.
that vibe of just like, oh, that you even thought about sex. Heathen. Like, oh.
But like also like hold on, I just want to say like to be fair, like we also have to keep in mind that the Industrial Revolution's going on and like labor is changing, like the work that people do is changing, like technology is advancing in leaps and bounds, and like your everyday person who works in a factory is getting smashed at this time,
Right. Yeah,
right?
because the
Like
way
you're
people
like
live is
fuck it, like this is
different.
how I deal with all of this,
Right.
There's no therapy, right? Like you just go to
So
the
we
bar and
were
get wrecked.
that's honestly true. They were probably going through so much at that time. They were like, listen, if we felt any ounce of this, we're gonna lose our fucking shit. So the goal is
Yeah.
shut it down. And that is pretty on brand to what I've been listening to lately in my random books that like the way and well and that's the thing is like the only way to survive at that time was to work because the only way you were going to make it was to
hmm
make those pennies
hmm
to barely make your rent to barely make it to the next week. Like that's the life that they're living. And also the
Yeah.
religion just tells you that the more you suffer, the greater the glory in heaven. So
Yeah. I mean, like, what are you gonna do?
suffer, I guess.
Suffer or drink and suffer a little less, right? Like,
No, Greg.
Or suffer a little bit more, as in the case of her first husband.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it depends how much you drink, right? Like, if you
That's
have
true. There's moderation.
temperance, yeah. If you have moderation, you can survive, right? But so, all right,
That's Dr. Greg's advice.
yeah.
He is not a
So,
medical
all right.
professional.
So like for some a little bit of timeline. So she founds the local chapter of the WCTU in 1890. This is already after like 10 years earlier in 1880, Kansas had passed the first ever prohibition law in the country. banning the sale of alcohol. All right. So 1890 is kind of a turning point because the Supreme Court ruled in a case that alcohol, like basically they were like, you can't ban alcohol as long as it's like in its original packaging and brought in from another state, it's okay to sell. Right? I don't know the ins and outs about why they decided that, but they did. And so what this did is it created loopholes where Kansas began, you saw saloons and bars pop up everywhere because, essentially they're like, we're buying the alcohol in the original packaging and now we're selling it to you, right? So this is a way around all of that.
These are very arbitrary rules. You just can't make it here, but you can buy it. But
Yeah.
it has to say in the package that you bought it in. So don't put anything extra in there, but you can bring it from anywhere else. Like there's like multiple states surrounding them. There are sources everywhere. It's
Well, it's like, I mean,
dumb.
I guess it comes down to like interstate commerce and like the rules about like what you can ban coming in and out of other states and stuff like that. Which, like, that's a whole other side thing with like the legalization of marijuana and stuff today. But like, we won't go there. Um, so, anyways, she founds a local chapter and like gets other women fired up about this issue. They're doing very normal things for 10 years, essentially. They're protesting, they're like recruiting people to their cause. They're having like talks and stuff like that about why alcohol is bad. Um, she's even like, I mean, so I will say, like, she's even involved in like ministering to local prisoners in the jails because she thinks that like alcohol is the root cause of like most of society's problems. Right. So like these people wouldn't be in jail if alcohol hadn't been a factor and they need ministering and stuff like that. Um, and so like the sort of peak of her nonviolent protesting is like she would she and like her friends and people in her organization would like stand outside of bars and pray very loudly. They'd be like outside of the bar like praying. They would be singing hymns. Um I found a quote where like she would also greet bartenders with sayings like "Good morning, destroyer of men's souls," and like basically trying to like shame people into, you know, like realizing that like alcohol is ruining people's lives.
That's so petty.
Oh,
But
I
it's
know,
funny.
right?
But it's
But
so
also,
petty. Like,
but also, like, I hate to draw like modern day illusions, but it also kind of like reminds me of the people that are out in front of abortion clinics and stuff like that, right? Like the
yeah.
signs, the protesting, the saying nasty things. Like that's essentially like what they're doing. And she does this for 10 years, trying to get people to stop drinking. And so 10 years into this, she starts to, so she writes an autobiography, actually. You can go online and find her autobiography where she's telling her life story. So some of this comes from her own life story. But around the early, like around the turn of the century, like 1900, she starts praying more earnestly for God to like give her direction. Like, what am I supposed to do? And so, somewhere around June 1900, she had some sort of a vision type experience. Like, whatever we want to say about that, she has a vision. And so, and this is a quote from her, right, from her autobiography. She says, "The next morning, I was awakened by a voice which seemed to me speaking in my heart these words, 'Go to Kiowa.' And my hands were lifted and thrown down, and the words, 'I'll stand by you.' The words, 'Go to Kiowa,' were spoken in a murmuring musical tone, low and soft. But 'I'll stand by you' was very clear, positive, and emphatic. I was impressed with a great inspiration. The inspiration was very plain. It was this: take something in your hands and throw at these places in Kiowa and smash them."
That was
That's
so
like very,
aggressive.
yeah, that's very like specific.
Yeah, like go to Kiowa and fuck shit up,
Yeah, yeah. Like
essentially.
I feel like that's like stuff that like it's so specific that it's like who could make that up? You know what I'm saying? Like it almost makes you like sit there and be like,
I think
how
if
could she make that up on her own? You know what I mean? Like how that's crazy.
Is it an
Eh?
angel? Is it the voice of a god? Like, what is it
She
that's
don't know,
talking
but
to
it
her?
told her and she was going. But that's the thing
She's
is,
schizophrenic all of a sudden. Keep going. Because
Yeah.
actually, the voice is telling her to do something bad. So I'm just saying.
is it bad,
Okay.
Randy?
Is it?
Or is it
Yeah.
dedicated into her mission?
One would argue that deifying yourself in such a way, or like lifting yourself up to that sort of place of judgment, is a sign of mental illness that goes hand in hand with that diagnosis. But I'm just gonna, you know.
Yeah, but that's not what she thinks.
Yeah.
She,
Well, I mean, from her perspective, I mean, and this is the Almighty speaking to you, saying, like, go and do this.
Yeah, but it
You know?
makes her a prophet at that point.
one
That's
of the
what,
things, the
Yeah.
only
right?
thing I could think of is like we have built religions around men that do the same thing or find
And
a
I
book in the
think they're
forest.
just as stupid.
I agree. I agree. I agree. But I'm just saying, like, where's her religion? Where's her non-drinking religion? Maybe that's what got the people down. They were like, we could do it with the suffering, but not without the drinking.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what does she do next, Greg?
So 2 days later, she goes to Dobson's Saloon in Kiowa and like apparently makes this announcement. Like she goes into the loon and into the saloon and says, "Men, I've come to save you from a drunkard's fate." And she begins throwing rocks that she had gathered up into the bar, essentially. And so she also called these rocks smashers, which I think is funny, right? So she took her smashers and started throwing them into like the bar, right? So imagine the bar, the liquor, like all that kind of stuff. She's wrecking it. And she attacked two more saloons in the following days. And then a tornado hit eastern Kansas around that same time. And so obviously, this is divine providence, right? Like God wouldn't have sent a tornado to wreck parts of Kansas if she wasn't onto something.
That's science. Obviously, Greg.
Yeah, it's cause and effect. I threw shit at your saloon, and then God brought a tornado in and fucked more shit up, you
He
know?
finished the job I
Yeah,
started.
yeah,
Without me, there wouldn't be, without me, there is no God.
yeah.
Well, because what was the second thing she was
No,
told?
yeah, she was
I
just doing her
supporting
part.
you.
Yeah.
I'm
Go to Kiowa and do this,
This
you
is
know?
what he wanted me to do so he could do that. That makes sense to me. And in her logic world, yes.
So, like, obviously, this became her thing for a while. So she continued to attack saloons and eventually, like a few attacks in, her husband apparently joked to her and said that she should use a hatchet the next time to maximize the damage. And according to her autobiography, she replied, "That is the most sensible thing you have said since I married you," which is funny. Um,
And I literally was just thinking, sometimes men do really have good ideas.
but
Wow, Carrie
so,
had, and she liked this one, right? Like she actually liked,
well,
did she like this one?
well, she liked him enough. So in,
No, no,
well,
Greg,
hold on, hold on.
no.
So I
If
don't
someone
know.
says
So
I like you enough,
enough. Oh my
well,
God, I would
leave,
be dead. I
the
would be
leave.
like, not
Oh
enough.
my
so
Not
God,
enough.
literally the next
leave.
thing in my notes is they later divorced in 1901, about a year into her crusade.
So
So
she
he
did not love this.
well, or he didn't, right? I don't know the ins and
Men
outs.
do not like
But
powerful
like
women.
about a year into it, they decided to part ways and got divorced. But like they didn't have any kids together. She had her kid from her previous marriage, so it seems to have been a fairly clean break for the time.
I mean, that's really all you can hope for. Not getting hatcheted to death is like pretty much, it's the 1900s. Like poisonings and murder is really where it's at right now.
Yeah.
And in the Wild West, Randy, come on. Or dying of dysentery. Everyone's dying right and left.
The
Yeah.
Wild West is its own thing, okay? I'm just gonna.
Dying, death, death. I'm just basing it
Divorce is
off of
like not
the
the
90
worst
Ways to
thing,
Dies
you know.
on the West. That's my
Well, and that's also the area where it's like one woman to every 10 men. So like
Oh, that
it's
is
not,
true.
yeah, that's like, isn't that, didn't we do a story where we talked about how, no, that was the colonial
That
time.
was
But I
colonization.
bet they were still going to funerals
Similar.
and trying to pick up
I
widows
mean, men
and
never
widowers.
stop, Randy. Men will hit on you even if you're married. Sorry, Greg. But it's true. They don't care. Your husband's still warm.
Greg, be an ally.
Greg is an
No, I mean
ally. That's
you're
why
not
he's
wrong.
I
It's
here.
know.
100% true.
I know.
These are just facts. I've been online before. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So all told, in the period from 1900 to 1903, she was arrested at least 32 times for what she called her hatchetations, which is where she would go in and like fuck shit up in the saloon. Um,
She named them?
I was gonna
She
hatchet
say, I love
named
her
them?
hatchetations.
little words for everything. Her smashers, her
Yeah,
Was
her
I Carrie
smashers.
Nation in a
Oh, I have
past life?
pictures for y'all at the end of this. All right. I put
yes.
together a PowerPoint. So
Oh, I love
Oh, I
Greg.
it.
love
I'm
that.
so
it's
I
a
excited.
visual
love
episode.
that.
So I got some pictures. You can do whatever you want with them, but like I've got some stuff to show y'all. So obviously, like people were not okay with this, right? So there were multiple times where she was like attacked by crowds, beaten, she was arrested. She faced fines and had to appear in court for her actions. So, for instance, one of her attacks on a couple of bars in Kansas City on 12th Street ended up with her being fined $500 in like the early 1900s, like 1901, 1902. Today, that'd be about like $20,000 that you would have to pay back, to the courts. Um,
But also, how much damage has she done at this point? Because how many saloons has she hatcheted or rocked or billiard balled? Like,
At least 32, right? I mean, like, I don't know how many, like,
Greg.
how much alcohol she smashed and all of that. And, like, so she also attacked, like, a lot of these bars would have, like, paintings of nude women up. And so she
Okay,
also
so
fucked
now
those
she's
up.
going
She didn't
after
like
the
that.
nudes too.
Yeah, she
You
didn't
can't
like the
have
nudes.
anything.
It's
Um,
scandalous, Karina.
yeah,
Absolutely scandalous. Are
She
you
would
kidding me?
hate my house, is all I'm saying.
yeah.
Wow.
So,
Can think
you
of
know,
so many reasons.
so, like, I
I
feel like
know,
the
I
next
was
question,
like, the decor,
yeah, yeah. You
Me
can't, you
in
can't
the
wreck my
house.
nudes,
In
the
my-
pole in the garage. Really, it's just that.
Like just an aside, this week I was talking to the family because the youngest boy had like screamed the other day when I went in there and he had his shirt off, but he
Mhm.
had his underwear on, but he had his shirt off and he was like, "I don't have my clothes on." And I was like, "Okay, like it's okay if you don't have your shirt on, like it's totally fine." And I was talking to his mom about it and I was telling her I was like, "I grew up in a naked household." And she goes, "He did not." And I was like, okay, so what I'm hearing is you are not a naked household. Got it. Because she was like, I would rather him be like that. I was like, if that's really what you want, I
No,
will.
same, Randy. Me too. I grew up in a naked household, so I completely understand.
I'm like, what's the big deal?
I used to have a lot of conversations with my mom while she was in the shower and I was like in the bathroom. Like that's when I would go and ask her and be like,
I feel like
"Can I
that's
go hang
pretty
out at
common.
Christina's house?" Like I am used if you honestly if you come to my house, I'm almost 90% of the time not wearing any pants. You're lucky if I'm wearing a shirt. I'm not wearing any pants.
Well, your home
It's
is your
my home.
sanctum, right?
Yeah.
Like.
We used to live in a house with these
Oh,
giant windows, and
it's
Evan would walk around the house naked and be like, "It's my house. If they're
well,
looking in, that's on them."
So
And
apparently
I'd
you
be
can
like,
still be fined in Arkansas for that.
well,
Um,
"Damn." Well, we
Nudity
never
on
got
your
fined.
property. So I looked that up, like
Greg,
nudity
what
on
were
your
you doing that you
property.
needed to look that up?
Well, obviously I wanted to do naked yoga back on my deck,
That's
but
smart. Okay.
they ruined that
obviously,
for me.
obviously.
I should have assumed, honestly.
Yeah. No, but they ruined that.
Rude.
Like I looked, I was like, can I get in trouble for this? And it's like, yes, you absolutely can in Arkansas.
Wow. Well, honestly, it's Arkansas. Like it's disappointing me on a daily basis.
I
That's all I'm gonna
just
say.
don't get what the big deal is. Like, unless
If
you're
you don't
like
want to see, don't
actively
look.
flashing
Yeah,
somebody, like
that's on
I
you.
don't, yeah, I don't want to be flashed against my will. That's not, nobody ever wants that. But like, if you're on your property, well, I guess this goes into like if you were in a small lot, like don't be in your front yard, but like your back deck should be fair game. I really do think
Yeah.
your back deck should be fair game.
I agree. I think the backyard should be a safe zone.
Mm-hmm.
We have a chain link fence. Everybody seeing everything
I should
Nope.
in my
probably, I
backyard.
was like, I should probably look this up because I tanned topless on my deck the other day and I just put some blankets up. I was like,
I
they won't, no one will be able to see me from the street. I'm on the third floor. I was like, you gotta be really peering. You gotta be already lurking so heavily to
You
see
have to be
me
on
on
a
my deck.
Right.
ladder, Randy. Yeah,
No,
you'd
you
have
don't.
to
You
be
don't have to be on the ladder. You just have to be far enough away on the street to see my deck. Do you know what I
you'd
mean?
have to be
Yeah.
pretty far. A good distance.
We're so off topic now.
See, I
Sorry, go
told you. I'm like, no, Randy, we will talk. Trust
I
me.
know. I'm not worried about it. I'm worried about us
Okay.
finishing.
Yeah. All right, I'll bring it home. I got the last couple of points here.
Oh no, that
So
wasn't me rushing you, Greg. Sorry.
no. I just want to be like mindful of like the other segments that we have. Um, so obviously, like, she's facing these fines, right? Like, you can't go wreck a bar without there being consequences. And so she did a lot of different things to fundraise. And I think that's actually one of the cool things about her. She's a very entrepreneurial woman. So she very quickly like took her celebrity and turned that into like the lecture circuit at the time. So like people would pay for famous people like I mean people like Frederick Douglass to come talk at events and stuff like that. And so she would collect fees from that where she would preach and give talks about prohibition. She also sold pins in the shape of hatchets. So she was selling merch and picked like commemorative photos, like pictures of her holding the hatchet and stuff like that, which I also think is awesome. She also published a couple of like a few different newsletters that always had like kind of like a short span of time before she was doing other things, and then she started this back up and did another newsletter. So some of them, a few of the newsletters were called one, The Smashers Mail, which I think is a cool title. Two, The Hatchet. It's a
Of
great title.
course. We all knew that one was
Yeah.
coming.
And three, the home defender. And so, like, for a while, she was in high demand, right? Like, she would go around, do these lectures, and talk about all sorts of other, like, obviously, alcohol is not the only thing she had an issue with. So, she also really didn't like male fraternal orders, like the Masons. So she was really like anti-Mason. She was anti-tobacco. She didn't like foreign food. She didn't like corsets, skirts that were too short, and then mildly pornographic art, like those nude paintings we were talking about. So like, like nobody needs to see that, right? We need a godly society. Um, she also was a big promoter of women's suffrage, right? So she was an early advocate of women getting the right to vote in, like pre constitutional amendment. So, um, so that's cool. And by 1903, she decided to put the violent sort of activism behind her and switched fully to this sort of like the lecture circuit, like promoting things in a nonviolent way. Um, Towards the end of her life, a few years later, she actually uh, appeared in the vaudeville circuit. So these were like like entertainment pre-motion pictures, like you'd go to a theater and see like a multi-act show with like people doing blackface. Like that's the most famous shit that we think of with vaudeville is like, blackface sort of stuff and minstrel shows and all of that. But obviously like a woman coming to do like a talk in vaudeville about prohibition isn't going to be super well received. You know, people are there for fun, they're there for entertainment. They don't want to see Carrie talk about why we should stop drinking alcohol. And so she actually did a tour in London and was pelted by eggs from people in the audience who weren't feeling it. And she got pissed, ripped up her contract with like the company that she was doing this with, and was like, "Fuck this! I'm going back to the U.S." Um, so she pieces out of all of that and is like, I'm not gonna do this anymore," and goes back to the States.
And
I'm
she
still
said,
stuck on.
I'm done. Sorry, Randy, but she did. She said, I'm fucking done. I'm
Yeah,
leaving. But she would never
eggs
say
are
fucking.
the last straw. You don't throw eggs at me.
Yeah,
Honestly,
that's where I
boundaries.
am. I'm stuck on the egg thing. Why does the audience have eggs?
Sorry, Randy, that
That's
one
a
took
good
me out.
question.
You
I didn't
see
even think
like
about
the
that.
old like Bugs Bunny, like where they throw tomatoes and shit at
So you
the
bring your
theater.
produce. So instead of
But like,
eating
did
your
they
food, you
bring the
bring it
Like
eggs
you're
here
like,
to
I gotta
because
be
throw
they
at
ready
have
people.
in case
eggs?
this sucks, you know? Like
That's wild.
So
I'm
instead
sorry,
of
I'm just so thrown by the eggs.
this
The
is the
egg. It's not like they threw popcorn. Or apples even. Apples I could have seen.
you took her out with the
Eggs.
eggs. But I could see it. Okay, if social media is like people talking and this is this times people talking and this is them expressing themselves, these are just like negative reactions.
yeah. Yeah, like now we smash the don't like button.
Or
Back then,
report aggressively
Yeah.
or
yeah,
something.
We
Or
give it
dox
a
them if you
Yelp
hate them.
troll
review.
in the comments, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, but this time it was like I brought these eggs. We found them and they rotted and there's is sick in there.
Saving
Let's
them
throw
for
them at a man.
No,
the
that's
right
literally
Well,
occasion.
disgusting. Please don't.
but that
That
makes
don't make it
sense
worse. Why are you making it
because
worse?
they
He
used
didn't
to
say
throw
any of that. He didn't say any of that.
because Randy, in this current time, you're not going to waste good food. So it has to be the gross shit that you don't want to eat.
Or it could just
Yeah.
be eggs that you wouldn't eat. Like maybe you
Why
found
wouldn't
a
you eat
nest of
them?
snake eggs.
You're gonna throw snake eggs at somebody. They're not even that texture. They're not gonna
They're just
break.
like
They're like
tiny.
rubbery. Doesn't make any sense, Randy.
I don't,
Sorry.
I'm just
I've
saying.
had half of this.
You're like, I draw the line at snake eggs.
That doesn't
I
make
don't
any.
know.
Who the
That
hell
is just
has
a first.
Randy?
That is
Yes,
just a first egg that
Randy.
came
Why
to
do
mind.
the 1800
That wasn't a
people?
chicken egg. It was a snake egg. That was just the first one. I'm sorry. It is a random one. Don't know why my brain
Yeah.
works
You
the
know
way
how
it
the
does.
internet. You know, I'm putting these clips in TikTok and seeing what it wants to give me right now. All I can think is like the egg debate crash out or something like millennial, like Gen Z, like that. Anyway, okay, Greg,
One
please go
thing
on. Yeah.
All
Oh,
I
right.
sorry,
will
Christina.
say
Yeah.
is I do like hearing about her, I guess you would call it like evolving, because
Yeah.
like coming from like that violent nature of like, no, this is what's gonna stick. This is what people are gonna, people are gonna take me serious because like you said, I'm wrecking their shit, right? But I do like her like evolving from that to be like, you know what? I did my time
Hmm.
and like I can use words to get through to people. And I kind
Yeah.
of do like that aspect of that because like I mean, we all go through times, right? Like that's the whole point of growing and learning is like,
Mhm.
this is how I did this and now I kind of have a better way of like going about it and that's super cool to see her like evolve from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like she starts doing the right thing. She snaps, which fits the theme, and like
Right.
goes on this sort of violent spree for a couple of years, and then kind of walks it back. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. When Greg started, all I could see were the similarities between my story and Greg's story. And all I'm gonna say is that so far, Carrie Nation has been so reasonable. Like, yes, there was the hatcheting. I know about the hatcheting, but like right now it's like she's like, okay, well, I'm done with the
Yeah,
violence. I'm just trying to talk about people and I want to be respected while I'm talking to people, which I think
Yeah.
is not much to ask.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. She seems reasonable-ish. I feel like she's got a lot of things to be angry for, but she is
yeah.
reasonable.
You know what? Women usually are reasonable before they snap.
Hmm.
You know what? You're
That's
right,
fair.
Randy. And then it's a
Yeah.
bunch of unprecedented circumstances thrust upon somebody against their will, and then some bullshit man probably shows up.
Yeah.
Hysteria.
Karina, some bullshit man drinks aggressively.
I'm not mad at a man right now, but all I can think is, okay, I watch a lot of true crime, and every time it's like, and then she was living her best life. She was a nurse. She had her degree. She was saving every life she could ever see. She did everything perfectly. She was fine. And then she met like the biggest bum in the world, and she gives everything to him, and then he gets her killed. That's about 90% of true crime.
Yeah.
I think
Anyway,
statistically it's more like 92%.
you're right, Randy. Thank you for upgrading that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure women only commit like 7 to 8% of
Right. And
these
then when
types of
we do
crimes,
it, we're
right?
crazy. But it's like by the time we're doing it, it's because we've already shut our mouths about this other laundry list of things that we're pissed off about.
I will say the majority of the time it is that. I'm not gonna discount that there are just some crazy ass mofos out there though.
There are
Like
crazy people out there.
there are also women who jump right off the deep end sometimes and you don't
And
see
I
it
think,
coming.
according to statistics, so that's as accurate as people want to report it to be, I think that women are becoming more violent as people, I think, strive towards equality.
The
Um,
oppressed do tend to become violent. You're so right.
you're right. You're right. But I'm just telling you, that's what I'm seeing in the. Okay, you know what, Randy? I
Yeah.
don't look at our own numbers, but why am I invested in the freaking murder statistics? Okay, Greg.
So the thing that I think is actually kind of interesting is that Carrie
Yeah,
has.
the hatcheting was boring, guys.
Well, no, but I think that like when you can tie a person to a particular place, it's interesting. And so late in life, she moved to Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and had a house there, which has not been. When my mom got married to her third husband before divorcing him for my ex-stepdad, way back in the day. They got married in Eureka Springs because it was between Texas and Missouri. And I actually like I tracked down the house and it was just like a house, but I drove by it because I was like, that's interesting to me. I'm like, cool. Like I know something about like this woman who lived here. Like that's where she called home for a while, right?
One, I also think that's very cool, and now I want to go see the house because I'm a creep like that. But Greg, the way you worded that was just so funny. I don't know
Oh,
why. I lost my thought. But it is crazy how close to home like she lived.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
local, pretty much.
No,
Like
no,
for
it's not
me,
far away. Yeah, from
yeah.
you guys. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, it's
Like
far now, but yes, at the time.
yeah. But I mean, like she moved there like many people in the early 1900s, right? The natural springs are like good for your health and stuff like that. And um, on January 14th, 1911, she gave her last public speech talking about all the things that she would normally go on about before collapsing in the middle of it. And she ended up going into a coma and was moved to Leavenworth, Kansas, where she ended up passing on June 9th, 1911. So she didn't quite live to see her goal of prohibition, which happened in 1919 with the passage of the 18th Amendment. And obviously, she was doing a lot of things that were like far outside of the bounds of what were considered like normal or respectable or acceptable forms of protest, but clearly like had an impact on that. And I have pictures to show y'all, and that's the last bit of my thing.
I forgot about the PowerPoint. Oh, I'm
I
so
do. It's
excited.
only a couple of pictures because like we talk
I'll
about
take
someone and like you don't see them, you know? Um,
you do if you watch our video, Little Sips, because I
yeah,
always take the time to put a picture of whoever we're talking about.
yeah.
If you are an
Um,
audio listener and you haven't gotten to that, they're funny. I think they're funny, but I also amuse myself very easily. Sorry, Greg. Go on.
All right. So I'm gonna show you all this just because I put a couple of pictures together so y'all could see her. So this is Carrie in the Topeka, Kansas jail,
What a gal.
right?
Is this a rendering?
No, I think it's just a really like photos at the time were not great.
Greg, if
So
that is a photo, good Lord.
I'm just
I mean
having a hard time with the
it's like
eyes.
1901, you know? Um,
Yeah, mhm.
so this is a picture of this is a little bit later after she died, but one of the commemorative like hatchets you could get, collector's item, right? These are a couple of more like normal photos. The one on the right is the one that you normally see, right? Like this is Carrie in her prime, right? So she would often like go to these public speakings and stuff like in like the stark like black and white carrying a hatchet too, right? Because that's like her trademark.
She's so extra.
These were a couple of pictures I found of like her magazine, her newsletter, and then also a couple of advertisements for her speaking events, right? So like, you could go see. Also, just I like the wordplay, right?
Hatchetation.
Hatchetation is
Yes, I
so
was like, hatchetation caught my eye, caught my
yeah,
eye.
of hatchetation fame, right? She's gonna
Wow,
tell
wow.
us like when, where, how, why she smashed them. You
Yeah,
I was
I
know,
gonna
like
say
the
the middle
she
one.
smashed them.
I like the middle one because, like, in my mind, when I read like Barroom Smasher, okay, she sounds like a WWE.
Have you
yeah,
seen
yeah,
You
her?
yeah.
know,
She's gonna come
like,
in this corner. We have
yeah,
Carrie Nation.
the Barroom Smasher. Like, yeah,
You could tell we
All
watched
right.
too much WE. Like,
yeah.
Here's another political cartoon
oh, I love
That's
from
that one of
I
her.
amazing.
like the
that
men in
era.
the back. Like, oh
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
shit,
a good
like
one.
she's
It's
here.
very much like a puck kind of like that was one of the big like Esquire kind of magazines of that time that would have illustrations like this. Here's another one, right? She's holding the Bible, like smashing the saloon. I like that. But my favorite one, and this is actually like the sort of like the thing I could do, but I'm saving for another thing, which is why Dr. Seuss is an asshole. Um, that's a separate story. But you know you've made it when Dr. Seuss makes a political cartoon about you satire. Like obviously it's later, she's dead, but like he conjured this up to sort of promote the end of Prohibition and is making fun of Carrie.
Greg, unfortunately for you, you have just gotten yourself why Dr. Seuss is an asshole deep dive. Thank you. Just letting
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I I look forward to that. I also think he's really questionable, so can't wait to hear your reasoning.
Every time I find a hidden photo of Dr. Seuss's art, I am more and more concerned. Every time it's like, look at this questionable art of the worst shit you've ever seen. And
Fucking
it's
Theodore,
like
you know.
the Lorax is in the corner, like, like it just worries me. He's concerning. And then all like half of our children's books are written by him.
Yeah. But this is one that I think kind of stands out because, he's he's making fun of her, you know. He's your nutty Aunt Carrie, like running around smashing shit, you know. But
It
like
is also another instance of like two things that are colliding that I have never considered things happening at the same time.
yeah, but also like the pop culture thing, right? Like you
Yeah,
can't write a cartoon like this without people getting it. And people in the early 1900s would know what he's talking about, right? Like they would know
absolutely.
who she is in this picture. And if I showed this to your average person, they're like, what the heck, right? I have no idea what's going on in this picture.
That's why our listeners are not the average person. They are
They're
people
not.
who dive deep to
They
find
have
the
a
weird Dr.
discerning
Seuss
taste.
photos. Yes. Greg, that would also That first picture you showed us of Carrie Nation was disturbing. Like Dr. Seuss's rendition was weird, but like the first one was scary and I will see it in my dreams. Like people have the Hat Man and I have
with the
her.
hatchet.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
hatchet, obviously.
Oh yeah,
Obviously.
yeah.
That was wild, Greg.
That was really, I really liked that.
Oh no,
That
she's
was really,
fascinating. Like she's a really interesting person. Like, do I agree with her? No. Are we pretty much I think all drinking alcohol on this episode? Yes, She would think we're all dirty, dirty sinners, But
I
no,
mean,
but
who
you told her
doesn't?
story very well though.
Dirty, dirty.
Randy. Yeah, I really enjoyed how you told her story. It was
Yeah.
a
but
very
also
good
like
one.
I
It was very
appreciate it,
fun.
right? I mean, I'm like, I don't have to agree with you, but the fact that you were like, fuck it, I'm like smashing shit in the saloon.
She's
Like,
And
got
she was about
gumption.
it.
yeah.
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 She was 10 toes down, man. She,
I said we're not drinking in my town.
yeah. I think that's the one thing that I do like really like about the story was like the confidence in herself of
Mhm.
like I'm handling the shit. You know what I mean? Because like it shows
Yeah.
that like that confidence can take you very far.
Hmm.
And that is the lesson for the week. Yeah. If you are confident in whatever you're doing, and if you bring a hatchet, what can people say?
Or a billiard ball.
When I said that, I honestly was like, this is a universal experience, and now I'm questioning every moment in my life. But
Yeah.
thank
They talk
you,
about bringing a knife to a gunfight. No one talks about a hatchet,
or a billiard ball.
or
Or
a
a
billiard
billiard.
ball.
But the story was so good. It's like up there with Ida. You guys know I love my crazy women. Like, if I can tell the story about an unhinged woman, I will. Like, that is my favorite
Our very
genre.
Yeah.
first episode.
No, I support it.
Yeah, well, because
Like
I'll,
like I'm not joking. Like I literally like I had some time to kill in Eureka Springs when like my mom's doing her fucking wedding shit and we're like, do you really want to marry this guy? Like you're rebounding like nine
Greg,
months
I
later
also
from
love
getting
how we're
divorced.
gaining, we're
Like
getting to know your mom's love life. While we're
but
talking
but
about
I was like, I need to take a time out from all of this and like go to where her house was.
you needed to
Like,
ground at Carrie Nation's house.
yeah. God, did
Perfect.
I tell you about that?
No.
The grounding? My mom's into that too, like
I mean, I'm a
grounding.
plant woman, so
I love
No, but for
grounding.
her, it's like I need to like have a thing on my bed that I plug into the ground on
Oh, I don't
the
do that.
see, I wouldn't
yeah.
do that. If I was gonna do it at my house, I would probably get a rock that I sleep with to just
10
connect to
minutes
the
a
earth.
day with your feet
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
grass. Isn't
No, for
that
my
what,
mom,
I
it's
mean,
it's like oh, there's something that's happening when I like plug this thing that goes under my mattress into the wall that's gonna like charge my ions or something.
Oh, okay. Well,
mm.
I'm worried but not surprised by your mom.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. Okay,
Everyone just needs to hug a tree for 10
honestly.
minutes.
Yeah.
And just sit outside
And
without
then
a
the same tree
device.
every day.
Just a little breath work. Just breathe in
Mhm.
and out and listen to a tree. And that's it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's it. Don't look at your phone. That's it. Do it for 10 minutes. If you don't have a
That's really
tree,
honestly some of
stare out a window.
the studies aren't like huge right now, but the studies that have been coming out say as little as 10 minutes a day can
You
like
know why? Because we
greatly
couldn't,
affect your
because you can't monetize sitting outside near a tree. Not yet, anyway. And when they do, they'll figure it out. Anyway, it's time, Randy. This was a better segue than in part one.
Well, I will say I do think it's interesting because I approached it a lot like how Greg did. So like I'm going to be talking about protesting and revolutions and like women standing up for shit once they've been pushed a little too far, right? Like I said, when I thought what's more toxic than the patriarchy, I really leaned into it. So tonight I'm going to be talking about the Gulabi Gang. Okay, have you guys heard about this? They were
No.
really
I've heard the name like through social media intermittently, but I've never like looked into it.
okay. So Gulabi is You know what? I actually don't know what language that is. It comes out of the Uttar Pradesh region in northern India, but I don't know what they speak exactly. But Gulabi stands for hot pink. So when we're talking about the Gulabi Gang, they call them the Pink Gang. That's basically what it is. And it's a representation of these pink saris that they don anytime they go out to engage in their activities.
Oh, I love that. What a statement. Statement piece.
I like that. It does sound good though. Like it
Mhm.
sounds like a game.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Powerful.
and I didn't think anything of it when I first read it because in my head, like, oh, you're doing a women's movement. Of course, obviously you're choosing pink. Like that's such a stereotypical choice, right? No, that's not why they did it at all. They did it actually because it was one of the few colors that wasn't claimed by a political party or some religion in the area. That's why they chose hot pink. I don't know how much you guys know about India. And I say this as someone who doesn't know a lot about India, right? So like basically, and this is gonna be so sad because this is not the way that you're supposed to educate yourself. But basically the things that I know about India are probably all the bad things, right? Like I have read Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent, and I'm blanking on the author right now, Isabel. Anyway, it is that it talks a lot about the caste system in India, right? And how long it has taken place. And the other big piece of like my knowledge group that I have is from a series of documentaries that I watched when I was like in college and into young adulthood that was really about the crisis of women in India, which as I look back, the timing of that makes so much sense because I was in college from 2010 to 2014, and a lot of those like gang rape issues that happened on buses, those came to a head in 2012. So it makes sense that like those documentaries were coming out trying to talk about the issues, the social issues and the cultural issues that were kind of stifling India's growth, right? So I am just going to say this with full transparency because I really think that I need to see another side of India very soon because the India I found tonight was very depressing, okay? So let's start with the caste system because this is something that you're going to have to understand when I'm telling you about the pink gang later. So the caste system in India is a really hierarchical, patriarchal pyramid situation, okay? So you've got multiple layers. There are four main layers, but tons of subcastes that happen throughout the ordering because it's like two pieces. So this is based in their Hindu religion, and you get two pieces. It is your place in life and it is your duty, right? So it connects your birth, like the hierarchy of your birth in one of these caste systems, and then it also assigns you your duties. So within the first four, like the very top are priests and scholars, are they're like the teachers, the intellectuals of the community, right? The secondary layer is the really more of I kind of think about it in the same way of like when I was thinking about this earlier, I was thinking about it in the terms of like the Hunger Games in the careers kind of way. Like the second layer is the one just outside of all the power, but they are also power, right? They're the warriors. They're the ones who are running the things, right? They're running the military. They are in charge of the fiefdoms. They're doing a lot of the administrative work of the country, right? Or the region. The next layer is going to be more your working class. So this is going to be your tradesmen, these are more going to be like the smaller little kingdoms within the country or the region, the traders, the people who are working, but still very wealthy, right? And then the final layer is those are really more of the working class, right? So when you're thinking about the bottom layer, this fourth final layer, this is like these are the people who are your blue collar, they're out there working. They're not doing the really bad jobs. So like outside of this pyramid, there is another section called the Dalits, and they are considered the untouchables, right? So this is the lowest class. They are the servants, they are the slaves, they are the ones that you basically can do anything to without any reprisal within the system because they don't matter in terms of the caste system, okay? So they're doing the most dangerous work with no protection. They're making absolute no money. So I want you to think people who are in forced prostitution. I want you to think about people who are cleaning out the sewers. I want you to think about people who are working in factories without masks, people who are working in buildings that aren't up to code. Those are all that are in that kind of caste out of the caste system section.
Sorry, it took me forever to unmute myself. But also, it kind of reminds me of Randy sent us a little rant in our group chat last night, and it reminds me of that where like people don't remember like how many services, how many lives were lost in this caste system due to these terrible conditions and these jobs. And all these people just never even considered how many lives went into their everyday conveniences.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't matter because they were of this bottom caste. And that like that's all I could think about when you were describing it, Randy.
And I think what makes it really hard for me to understand is because this is tied so deeply to their religion. It is something that you inherit at birth and you really don't move through it, right? So there's not jumping castes. There's not in larger urban areas like maybe Mumbai or New Delhi or something like that, yes, you couldn't marry your way up. You might be able to work your way into a wealthier caste than what you had originally been in. But I mean, there was an article in one of like I don't know if it was The Guardian or it was in something along the lines of that, and it was about how a Harvard grad left, like it was someone from India, went to Harvard, came back, and was still treated like, because they were a Dalit, they were still treated like that, even though they had a Harvard degree and education. They were still, their caste was so much tied to their identity that the other pieces of their earned scholarship didn't really matter to the people.
Yeah, I have friends who are Indian and it's very hierarchical. Like no matter what you do, like it's almost expected that you like if you figure out the people you're interacting with are like above you, you have to be deferential to them.
I think the part that's stressful for me is like it feels stupid to be like, well, you were born poor, so the Harvard degree you have means nothing. Like, it just feels so dumb to me. Let's not look at you as the individual you are with your own individual set of skills, like you're that guy from the movie Taken. No. We're just going to look at you as a specific category and just to completely ignore you, which I think is what you have to do in order to oppress people. That's just facts. But like it's so stupid. It's literally stupid. It reminds me of the Trump administration like firing all the scientists and being like, "Oh shit, we actually don't know what the fuck we're doing. We need to get these guys back." And now they're like, "We need the scientists back. We need the scientists back." Anyway, it's
Well,
just dumb. It's dumb. I'm angry today.
It is dumb. It is dumb. It really is. And I think what I find more perplexing is and this is an old stat, so I don't know if it's still true, but per capita, when I learned this stat, India had the most number of geniuses per person as compared to any other country, right? Like they were just the genetics in that country was just popping them out. Not really sure how it happened. I think that's really interesting though when you look at the country. I would have expected a lot more upwards trajectory as a country if you were having that kind of mental horsepower behind you. But if you are in such a hierarchical system where your gifts cannot be used if you are not of a certain caste, it is quite astonishing to me that coming from a capitalist society that you wouldn't put the gains of the country ahead of that hierarchical system.
I mean, you could argue that for the United States, Randy. Why don't you put the gains of the nation over the gains of the individual few? Because the poor will continue to shop outside of their means to keep up with the Joneses while maintaining poverty, while maintaining the dollar line for the corporations. And that works in India too.
I'm gonna say, something potentially, inflammatory right now, but there is a benefit to that from a standpoint of the United States, right? The United States itself has gained a lot of power and notoriety and bullying ability, if we're just being quite honest, because of the number of people that we make sure are well paid in this country. I'm not saying that it's good. I'm not saying that cost differential or
Well,
like
and
that
but my
difference
other
isn't
question,
there.
my other thing that I am bringing up just because I'm chaotic today, how many of those people are at that position to make that money because of the poor that they're exploiting outside of the United States?
That's that's probably the better. It's a nationalist approach, right?
I
It's
think the more we look into everything that we've looked into, the more that I'm seeing that this system is just us getting our tentacles into every single little freaking pie we can in order to exploit the most people we can, in order to make the most profit, in
Mhm.
order to exploit the most world, life, whatever for the dollar line that we made up in our brains. Anyway, this is what that podcast has become, but like but this, I mean, we are at that point. I've been thinking about it recently, and like, this is the point we are at in society. After the recent, like, votes that have been cast and decisions that have been made as a nation, this is the time, this is it. This is the time that we're all making our stand of who we are and what we're believing in.
Well, I think that also ties into like the illusion of class in America, right? Where it's like, oh, we're a classless society. Anybody who works hard or does X, Y, and Z can pull yourself up by your bootstraps and
I literally hate that saying, but
no, I know
continue.
I hate it too, right? But like, but that's part of the rhetoric, right? Like that's the rub is like, oh, well, if you just work hard, you can do these things. And it completely like it encourages people to ignore the sort of structural things that are at play, right? And like I feel like in India, you see a very like rigid structural sort of system where it's like, oh, are you in this class? These are the things that are given to you, right? Like these are the benefits that come from that. If you're in this class, all right, you have these benefits, you have this responsibility. If you're at the bottom, it's like, well, fuck you. You're at the bottom, and that's how it is, you know?
And what compounds what I'm going to be talking about tonight is the fact that women in India are also so devalued, right? So, you know, I would encourage everybody to watch the documentary. It's a girl about the mass killing of female infants, because they were considered undesirable, and the kind of really lopsided numbers that we're seeing now in India in terms of population, how many men there are compared to women, because of this. Honestly, it's an entire lost generation of girls because of the practices and the preferences of a culture, right? And so in a lot of these places, it, in India, specifically rural areas, you see that women are barely more than servants, right? Like a lot of families and in-laws, when they bring in a daughter for their son, right? They have a daughter-in-law now. She is barely above the servant. She is there to take care of her new in-laws until they die. She is there to cook large meals for all of the family. She's there to go to the well. She is there to have children. And she is there young. Especially in these rural villages, I'm talking like 11, 12, sometimes as early as their first period. So it's it's really, really concerning when we're talking about women in India, because the violence against them in these societies, because of the caste system, and then compounded by the patriarchal system, and then just the icing on the cake is the corruption that's happening in the courts that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, basically leads to truly outrageous numbers. So this is where I'm going to start. This is the part that like really gets me. So crimes against women in India comprises about 10% of all crime in India, all reported crime. And at the very top of this uh, is, and I'm going to get through a list of like how the statistic breaks down. But actually, before I get to that, I'm going to tell you how many cases there are. So I want you to know that when we're talking about crime against women, we're talking about a lot of different things, right? So I know that the first one that we all go to, the one that we're all thinking about, is rape, right? And you're probably going to have to do whatever magic you need to do for us to be able to talk about this, Karina, on YouTube, but that is what we're talking about, right? Usually we go immediately to rape, sexual assault. That is not the highest reported. I'm not going to say it's not happening a lot more than is reported, because a lot of these girls and women and their families are discouraged by what they encounter when they go to report. So the numbers are quite low. But it's a broad spectrum of things like domestic abuse, um, kidnapping. Sometimes it's even like killing women for their dowry payments, like dowry deaths. But every day in India, and a lot of the statistics I have are going to be current. I'll let you know if I know for a fact that they're not current. But there are about 1,200 reported crimes against women every single day in India. 1,200. And that results in about 500,000 cases of crime every year. And I know that you're thinking, oh, that's really awful. That's really awful. If you were to do comparisons to the United States, per capita, you'd be like, oh, well, it looks like these developed countries are actually much worse off than like um than India is. Well, that's because they're not actually reporting it. So in India, only 10% of these violence issues are being reported, whereas in industrialized and further along, more well-developed countries, that number is significantly higher, right? So even though the US doesn't have great reporting, as we know, we've talked a lot about in Me Too, our numbers tend to range between 30 and 50%, right? So we do have a lot more reporting. Add to that the fact that we are very specific about our reporting. So in the United States, like an assault versus a rape, right? There are nuances, there are differences. We consider sometimes every touch of an assault to be battery, right? It comes with its own charges. Anytime that you are touched without giving consent and permission is technically against the law, right? That is not the case in India. You have to report with so much visible damage to anything before they will take your report seriously. And a lot of times, even then, what these undercover journalists have found, and a lot of them, like I said, in the early 20 aughts that and through the 2010s they were doing that reporting, they found that the predominantly male police departments were trying to do whatever they could to just make these cases go away. They would say things like, oh, that woman's a prostitute, or she ran away from her family, or this is just a disagreement and they need to get married or something to resolve the issue between families. So a lot of times these girls, and I want to be clear, a large majority of them are not just women. They are young girls, are being put through this really, really egregious culture that is basically stripping them of their humanity. So let's get to the statistical breakdown, right? So these cases that are so big, what does it break down to? Well, the number one biggest issue is domestic cruelty, which accounts for somewhere about 30% of all of these violence against women cases. I'm going to say here, marital rape is not considered a crime in India. So that marital rape will fall under domestic cruelty, but a man will never get charged for that if the girl is of age. Basically, that's it. But domestic cruelty happens, like I said, a lot of times as a group of people against this one woman or this one girl. So it's not just a husband that is often like talking down or beating or assaulting a girl. It is also his family. And even sometimes her family, if she complains, they will beat her into submission as well to make sure that she understands that her place is one of servitude. The second highest one is kidnapping and abduction, which happens quite a bit. There are a lot of different reasons for this. The kidnapping and abduction, I think, is interesting because it comes at number 2, and rape is not until number 4, which is like 6.7 to 7%. Like, I have the hard numbers for that one. But a lot of the times, the kidnappings and the abductions are for the explicit purpose of raping the girl or the woman that has been taken, right? So those numbers to me should be a lot more similar than what we're seeing being reported. The third thing is sexual harassment or outraging modesty. So basically, if somebody knows that your intent was to rape somebody, but you were caught before you could, that's this category. And then the
How do
final
you have evidence for that? Like, how do you premeditated rape? Like, do you have to have like a text message or something that says, I plan on August 27th?
I don't know. I mean, this to me would be like, how you think of like serial killers with their kill kits. Maybe like rapists have their own kits.
Maybe I could see. I mean, it's good. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not trying to go into that mental thought process. And then the final thing is dowry deaths, okay? So like it is a very, very dangerous world for women, specifically in places where this hierarchical system is upheld. And I know you might be thinking like, well, okay, Randy, so like are these numbers really, really consistent, really consistent? I want to read one to you. Specifically about rape. And the National Crime Records Bureau reported in 2012 that rape increased 902% from 1971 to 2012. And then when we look at the total number of registered crimes against women, that surged by 93% between 2012 and 2024. So at the very least, since the 1970s, it has increased like 1,000%. Rape has increased 1,000% in India. At least the reporting of it has increased. But I would not put it past the scholarship that I've been reading that it actually has increased, because they talk a lot of the work that I was reading talked a lot about backlash attacks. And that is really what has been happening when in 2012 that catalyst of the bus incident happened and the country began protesting, and the adults who perpetrated that crime, the juvenile perpetrator did not receive this same punishment. But the adult offenders received death penalties for that case, and they were hanged. And there were protests for the release of those men, as well as protests for the damnation of those men. So it was a really divisive time for the country. Again, really patriarchal areas are moving more onto the trend of oppression through scare tactics like cyberbullying or physical violence. And that's why it's been on the rise even since Reformation and protests have begun. Okay, so now that we have the context, the landscape of what we are looking for, I am going to talk to you guys specifically about Sampat Pal Devi, who she is the founder of the Gulabi Gang, the Pink Gang. She is a firecracker. I will say I am very interested in reading. There's this book called Pink Gang Revolution. No, Pink, sorry, Revolution. And I really want to read it. I was going to say, Karina, we might add it to the book club next week. It's all, not next week, next year. It's all about like how the movement started, and then it covers a specific case in 2012 of that the Pink Gang handled that received a lot of press attention and things like that. But Sampat, she like, some people are just born with it. She came out and she organized her first protest at the age of 8. And it was because she had beaten one of the local kids with a stick. I forget like what it had done to incite the incident, but he was the child of the largest landowner in the area. And so the landowner was like, "You can't just let your daughter go around beating kids with sticks. Like, that's not allowed." That's what the landowner said. And as a punishment, they kept Sampat and her family from being able to move around on any of the land that they owned, which created quite a problem because it basically surrounded the village that they lived in or the city. And so they couldn't like get to trade or do things without walking on this land. And so at 8 years old, she got a group of her friends together and they went to stage a protest. And they went to the house of this person. They pulled down their pants and they defecated in front of their home.
See, it is a firecracker.
8. This is an 8-year-old.
Randy. I don't know where I thought this story was going, but there was not it. What the heck, girl? But
I
also, if
like her
that was my
already.
daughter, I would be like it would be one of those like, you're not supposed to be pooping in public, but also like, we're gonna go get ice cream on the way from home from prison. You know, like,
I love that. I was ready to, whenever
yeah,
Randy
like,
was
all
like,
right,
they were
girl.
like, "You can't let your daughter do that." I'd be like, "The fuck, I can."
Well, I don't think
Yes,
that
you
her
can.
parents were all that
All
supportive
through,
of
yeah.
it. So she did this when she was 8. It was actually one of her uncles that she attributes to like recognizing her brightness. And so he signed her up for school and she went for 4 years. But then she was married off at the age of 12. Again, I want to clarify it in these patriarchal rural villages, it is safer. This is the logic, at least, that it is safer for a girl to be married, even young at the age of 12, because if she is not married at the point of like being attractive to the people around her, right? Like I don't even know the right terms because it honestly grosses me out. I can't think about what those right terms might be. But if she reaches a certain age and is still pursuing her education or is with her family, that brings on victimization is the logic, right? So she is exposing herself to a higher risk of being kidnapped, being abducted, being sexually assaulted, right? So marriage, even though it might put her in a place of a domestic abuse, is the better option than just leaving her unprotected, which is awful. Really hate that. She has her first kid at the age of 15, and in the next few years, she will have 5 children. She ends up having 5 children, I believe. The first two, well, the first one was a girl. I don't know when the next girl comes, but she does end up having 2 daughters herself, which is a tragic story in and of itself, and I will not share it with tonight's podcast, but I will share it with you, Karina, just so I don't have to share the burden of knowing it. So,
Wait, but Karina gets it.
well, Karina, we'll just talk about it. So, yeah, you will get it. Anyway, so when she was 16, at the young age of 16, she's like walking about in this village. And might I add, she has already moved out of the home with her in-laws. What I will say about her husband is and he is in some of the videos I've seen, he does seem to support her and the work that she does. Because at the age of 15, when she had her daughter, the mother-in-law was not pleased. She was like, "Why did you have a daughter? This is just another mouth to feed. You're bringing a burden on to the family," right? They were really quite upset that she had a girl. And Sampat was like, "I'm thrilled that I had a daughter. Like I love that I had a daughter." And she moves out of the house with her husband that year because she does not want to live under her in-laws' thumb. So good for her. So glad that they did that. She's out and about at 16. She sees one of her neighbors or someone in the village being accosted by her husband. She goes to intervene and he begins beating her as well. So she goes home and she's mad. And she's
Said,
like, "You
"Where's
know
my
what
stick?"
works?" Go ahead, Christina.
So she said, "Where's my stick?"
No, that's exactly what she said. She
Where's
says,
the hatchets?
Where's my
Yeah.
stick and where are my girls?" So she gets a group of girls together, all wielding sticks, and she goes down and she thrashes this man for treating his wife and her in such a manner.
I need her to learn about what is it? What they say? You put the the rocks in the sock.
Yes.
I need her
Those
to
are
learn
real.
that. Yeah.
Well, and she continues. So this was like her first instance of doing something like this, right? So we're not at the point where the Gulabi Gang is forming, but she's very clearly like she is entrenched in these ideals, right? She is a living, breathing, I am here to fight for women. And she is in this very, very specific section, right? So she is in that section that I said earlier that I have such a hard time saying, but Uttar Pradesh, that's the region that she's in. It is the most populous region of India. Okay, so if basically in 2012, when they did a lot of this research, if you were to look at Uttar Pradesh population wise, it would be like the region of northern India. It would be the same size as Brazil population. So the comparison is it has as many people as the country of Brazil in this one little section. It is also the home of the Taj Mahal. So for everyone who's going to visit the Taj Mahal, that is the region that the Taj Mahal is in. The region itself is one of the most impoverished regions in India. It is underdeveloped, it is underfunded, it is highly rural, and it does not have the economic movement of like a New Delhi or a Mumbai or, you know, a Kolkata or something along those lines. So she is in probably the most repressed region that there is in India. And just as a idea, I don't know I don't know if you guys have like heard me do the rant because I listened to that podcast about the LA police gangs, and like it was very disturbing what I heard in that, and it was really about how LA is like one of the biggest police forces in the United States, and like it's the specific county that has the most, like it's the biggest sheriff's department in the country. Well, in India, the Uttar Pradesh region has the largest police force in the world. Okay. In under one centralized command, it has the largest police force in the world. Local judges and people outside of that region who try to prosecute call it the largest criminal organization in the country, the police department. So when the women are going to report these things and going to try to get these things solved, there is an inherent disbelief that their issues will be taken seriously, and quite literally, they could be victimized at the police station for even showing up. Like there are rapes and murders and assaults that are happening in the stations themselves. So I just want to give you a good idea of the region that she's coming out of, and really an understanding of why something like a pink gang would even be needed in a country that after 2012 did institute reformations. It's just the police system is so corrupt, nobody is implementing that, right? So go ahead, Green.
I'm just like, you're just screaming into the void. They're just like, we're changing the laws, but really, if the people at the lower levels are not enforcing them, what is the point?
And the corruption is there, and the men are doing this knowing that there will be complete impunity. Even though like there is a law now in India that if they don't, if a woman comes to file a claim, that if they don't file the report, they will be in breach and they have the potential to get fired. They will file the report, which is why the reporting is going up, but it doesn't mean they're doing anything about it. They're not doing anything with the report. They're like, okay, we're adhering to the law and now we are filing the report, but we're not. That's all we're doing. Anyway, we'll get to that.
So
So
sad.
I
That's so
told you.
sad. That's so
I
frustrating.
told you. The videos that I watched literally had me crying because they were interviewing victims and families and things like that who were actively coming. They were like one of the Vice videos that I watched actively like set up shop in her little area once the gangs formed. They've got like a headquarters or whatever, and they were there as families were coming in and talking about the things that they were doing. Like I was kind of shocked actually by the raw footage that they were getting because they had an interview with a woman who was like, my daughter, my 12-year-old daughter was abducted and raped by our 43-year-old neighbor. The authorities won't do anything. So if the pink gang can't fix it, my solution is that I'm going to take her to this river and I'm going to kill myself and then I'm going to kill her. Or I'm going to take her to the police department and I'm going to kill myself and I'm going to kill her in front of them so they know our blood is on their hands. Like that's like the level of despair that these people are at when they're dealing with the local authorities.
But Randy, what the fuck? And it's like I feel like you really don't have any other option
No.
but to resort to violence in the face of so much violence,
So
especially in
she,
a community that doesn't protect you.
yeah. And she tries something else first. So before I mean, not that she ever puts the stick down, let's be honest. Once you pick your stick up or your hatchet up, you don't put it down. You
Brandy,
just
once you shit in public
Yeah.
intentionally,
Yeah.
she may not have had a stick, but she definitely was making a statement.
Yeah. Also, I will correct myself. I said rocks in the sock. That was not right. It was soap.
wait, say that again?
A soap bar in a sock. And you
Oh,
beat someone with it so it doesn't leave visible bruises.
Mhm.
Listeners, don't do that. You did
I was
you
like,
don't
Christina's
I
giving
have
do
heard
that.
that though.
tips.
Yeah. Don't do that. And if you do, you didn't hear from me.
well.
But continue,
I
Randy.
would support it for this endeavor, to be quite honest,
Yes,
Oh
because
yeah,
see,
but if
I
you live in India and you
definitely.
need to hit somebody with a sock full of soap, you do you.
Yeah, do it.
Because
literally I
apparently,
knew
yeah,
I was only going to be focusing on a vigilante tonight, so.
perfect.
So through the way that she decided that she was going to try something different is through the beginning of the 2000s. She was really actually becoming a partner with NGOs that were coming into the area trying to solve issues, right? At first, she was um like identified by an NGO that they were like, "Oh, she's really smart." She was about like 18 or 20 at this time. She was really smart. She was uh, you know, connected in the community. She so they taught her to sew, which was a predominantly male profession, which I did not know this. It was giving, honestly, it reminded me of the Fiddler on the Roof because they were like, it's the tailor. But that's how it is in India. It is a man's profession to do this. So for her to learn to sew, she was actually the first one in her village to learn to sew, period. And she got so much economic freedom that she started outpacing the money of her husband, right? So she was making more money and she was holding classes for the other women in her village about how to sew and learning about sewing while she was a seamstress and doing this work. And whenever the women were there with her, she would be encouraging them to like stand up for themselves and think about their rights and talking about school and education. And her whole goal was to motivate these women through this way to economically advantage themselves, right? She knew that if they couldn't do anything else, they needed the money to be able to support themselves to do something else. Now, again, they, as the Pink Gang, I'm gonna go ahead a little bit, but they do not support, predominantly, they do not support divorce, right? Again, going back to a lot of times it is safer for a woman in that arrangement than it would be for her to have a divorce and expose herself to a host of other things. So,
So
I
you're
know.
safer with an abusive husband than at the mercy of
If
all
you're
the
in the
men
pink gang,
outside.
I don't know how much of opportunity he's gonna get, but
That's also true.
I'll get to that. So, so through the early 2000s, she's like teaching them sewing. She's like motivating people in her village. She then finds out about these grants that they're doing, and she goes to the villages surrounding them, and she gets groups of women together to like get them ready, get them to have a plan so that they can accept grant funding and can like do things to boost their own economic development in these other villages, right? So she's all about female empowerment, all about what to do. Well, in 2006, this is kind of where everything came to a head because as she's been going on, she's been seen as a pillar in the community. People are coming to her with problems. They're saying, "We need help. We need somebody who can do something about this. You seem like someone who can do something about this." So in, in 2006, this is like all been leading up to that. These women have this issue with a road, okay? And the road is in such incredibly bad repair. It's not even a road, so they form another protest. And their protest is that they go to this road that's just basically a mud pit. And they get in the middle of it and they stop traffic and they say, well, if this road is no good for a road, it's just a mud pit, we might as well make it a field for planting and actually do some good and plant seeds. So these women go about acting as if this is a field for them. And all of these cars and all this traffic is like, what the fuck is going on? These women need to get out. And they're just like, no, we're not going anywhere. So they're protesting and protesting. And they're in their pink saris. This is like the debut of their official uniforms. She's kind of like gotten to a place where she knows the corporate mission, vision, values. She's like kind of figured out what direction they're going to go in, and this is going to be their first thing. And this government official comes down to the road and basically she drags him out of the car by his hair to look at the road, is the story anyway. And he has to agree on the spot to fix the road or traffic will not resume. And this is in front of like cameras, like all of these people had heard about this protest. So there's like media coverage and she gets this politician to agree to fix the road on tape, recorded. And that is kind of when they began the Gulabi Gang, the Pink Gang. And I'm going to read to you their main objectives. It's to prevent child marriage and protect the rights of girls, to encourage families to educate the girl child and promote equal access to education. It's to train women and girls in self-defense to build confidence and personal safety, which I love because if you are in the Pink Gang, you are forced to learn the stick. You are trained in the stick and you will practice the stick. You fight corruption and demand transparency and accountability in public administration. You raise awareness about the harmful effects of the dowry system and work towards its eradication. It supports survivors in registering first information reports against perpetrators of sexual violence, domestic violence, and other forms of abuse while helping them access legal justice. It holds offenders publicly accountable through peaceful, lawful community action to discourage harassment and violence against women, and it promotes women's economic empowerment by encouraging financial independence through skill development, employment, entrepreneurship, and livelihood opportunities. Okay, so she's got like kind of a full pronged approach, but she never forgets her stick. So
I
they
love that
say.
so much. I really do.
They say that she just continues. She will get bands of women. They will ride in buses down to areas. They will police areas walking around with their sticks. They will beat men. It does not matter who. Policemen, politicians, they will make sure that they are held accountable, which actually is what the Pink Saris revolution, that book, the story that they focus on is a 2012 story, 2012, 2014, somewhere around there, about a girl who was abducted by a politician and held in his house. She was a delete, 12 years old, abducted by a politician, held in his house for days on end. She escaped. He found her, took her to the jail, accused her of theft, and she was imprisoned. Yes, Sampat got thousands of women together and they went out to protest. They were beating policemen in the streets and they were making them hold this politician accountable.
With the damn stick. Oh
With
my
the
God.
damn sticks.
Uh, I love
So
it.
it is a good story in the sense that like vigilantism does work when corruption does not, right? Because when they were doing the interviews on people and lawyers who were working on this problem on the inside, they were talking about how the Gulabi Gang is an actual deterrent. They were like, nobody wants to be beaten by a group of women in like in any situation. If they know that that's what's going to happen, a lot of times they know who they're dealing with in that instance, right? It's just also disheartening that there are so many people who are aware of what the problem is and they're choosing not to deal with it. And that age-old adage of like, well, I have a mom. I care about women. That is not what's at play here because it is not true. They are not taught that their mothers are even at that level. Do you know what I mean? That patriarchal glint is put into them. So I'm gonna end on this little fact that I really love, that the Gulabi Gang in 2017 was at 400,000. Now in 2026, and because of all of the other rapes and violences that have been happening still across the nation, unfortunately, as a part of that backlash, the Gulabi Gang now sports 1.4 million women in multiple regions across India.
I love that. And power comes with
Yeah.
numbers, like growth
Obviously,
and
because if all of these millions of women have a stick,
hmm
and honestly, I have a stick my mom carved for me from when we went hiking, and I'm thinking of my stick, and I'm like,
I fucked
violence.
shit up with that
Yeah, I
stick.
was like, I could
Yeah.
hit someone with that stick. I'm prepared.
but guess what? You don't have to reload a stick.
Christina, you're just giving out ideas today.
I mean,
Wow.
guess what? If this one breaks, I'll go to the forest. I'll find another one.
That's true. There's a lot of sticks everywhere. Brandy,
And
you're
and do you even need your stick if it breaks? Because at that point you got a shrapnel piece.
Okay.
And you got your other girls with you who are
Mhm.
also wielding sticks.
Mhm.
I'm just
all I'm hearing is if Randy and Christina are near you and they have sticks, run.
Or
If you don't piss them
sock with
off.
the silver
Well,
thread.
or they have your back if you're
One
I
of
was
them,
gonna
one of
say
them is
I
gonna be
would
depends who
so
you are.
roll with you.
they either have your back or run,
Good luck. Depends who you are.
No,
I mean,
that was
yeah, if you
really
were like,
good, Rudy.
yeah. I mean, I understand that it was very difficult, but I'm kind of
No.
with you
You
that
guys
like,
do not know the ugly crying I was doing watching these
no,
documentaries.
that's what I was
I
And
gonna
I
say.
believe
do
it.
Like,
not
Yeah.
ugly cry, guys. I don't like doing it. So I hope you understand the work. I know I always say this, but listening and watching these interviews was so much different than the reading that I normally do.
Mhm.
It was so much different and it was so much harder.
it really gets you. Well, and even like you said earlier, like I understood that like we've talked about it, like India and China's one child policy and how like that has negatively affected women in that culture, but we really don't talk about India as in depth as we have today. And I didn't realize, I think, the difficult situation that women are in because we are like women in America today, yeah, we don't have a ton of rights. I think we have less rights than we like to think we do, especially these days.
I
But
mean,
the
I'm honestly, I'm scared for my future in this country.
I agree.
I
I
worry.
sincerely agree. I mean, like I personally, if I honestly think if the current administration was not in, I wouldn't have gotten an IUD. But I don't trust the government, and so I'm like,
I did it the January before he got inaugurated. I was like, slide in that Nexplanon that's good for 5 years. Take me through what should be a normal term.
take me away, a secret
Cover cover
secret
me, please,
space.
dear God. Mother help
Um,
me.
but so it isn't really until you're talking about it, Randy, that I understood like how, well, that I got a gist of how hard, like a little taste of how hard it really is.
Especially that
But
young too.
yes,
Like
Mhm.
that, I
Well,
mean, like Easton just turned 8. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a little girl, being, I mean, like you said, married off or whatever, and
Yeah.
then having all those expectations for them. I'm like, my child is still a baby. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
I I'll just tell you guys right now, what the saddest part of Sampat's story is. Her two daughters have completely different storylines because her eldest, she
Mhm.
was really worried about and actually ended up marrying her off at around the age of 13. And so she struggles a lot with that decision that she made, as her second daughter lives a very, very different life. So her first daughter has babies, she's making large meals, she's living in that same province area. Her other daughter is in a different region with a husband that she didn't marry until she was an adult. She is in school to become a teacher. She has ambitions outside of the home, is a financially independent in her own right. And so when she did this little brief like talking point about it, and it was honestly heartbreaking because she just really struggled with that.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just gonna say, I'm sure there's some like resentment there from her eldest because like when your parent makes this decision for you, but they're totally against it or like fighting for it, I mean, you almost feel betrayed in a sense.
The
I would
child
have felt
left
betrayed.
behind. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, like, when you know better, you do better. And I think everyone, especially when you're with your oldest, like, she may not have known what she could do. She may not have known her power and her potential at that point. She was in a very
It's
traditional
hard to
marriage.
believe that an 8-year-old defecating could have turned into a woman who I'm just saying, I'm like, it's hard to
I
imagine that.
understand that, but
I'm
I
not,
also think we don't know her marriage
yeah,
situation. We don't know her
yeah.
baby daddy situation. And I could see at the beginning when it was just her fighting, because even if you are a fighter, if you are with an abuser, you
Oh,
can only fight so hard
see,
as a
and
woman.
I honestly think it has more to do with the fact that she was hearing so many stories that were being brought to her, right? Like she was exposed and was aware. Like I don't think it was it might have been her
No,
in-law,
but like
but her
when
husband,
if I hear a story that if I live through something, I'm willing to take more abuse than what I'm willing to stand for people that I care about.
yeah,
I personally am willing to, like, if my
yeah,
husband says
you're
something to
willing
me,
to subject. You're like,
I
I'm
will throw
strong enough
hands
to
for all of
handle
y'all,
this.
but
Yeah,
like if it's my own situation, I have found myself just like willing to like roll over for somebody that I'm like, what the hell? Why would I do that for? So I'm wondering if like maybe she was, we don't know. We don't know what her, I mean, you
yeah.
maybe know. You're on a journey, Randy.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm
Anyway,
tired, y'all. I'm tapping out.
I
Is
know.
that
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
And as Randy tapped out, so did the rest of us. So we decided to stop our recording and save my story on Leonardo Cenciuli and Christina's Reddit story until the end of the month, where we will be putting out the second part of our Little Sips episode. But we will be putting out all of our stories. So Greg's story on Carrie Nation, Christina's Reddit story, my story on Leonardo Cenciuli, and Randy's story on the Gulabi Gang on YouTube as video episodes with some fun editing that I like to add in. So if that is something you're interested in, head on to YouTube. But for now, we're gonna go to bed. We gotta go. Goodbye. And thank you for joining us for this super long but super fun episode. Let us know what you think. And make sure to follow us on all our socials at sipandsaga_society. But for now, goodbye. Thank you.